Good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon, Professor Riccardo Radaelli. Good afternoon, Giacomo Cassano. Good afternoon, Giorgia Perletta. We are here today to introduce to the Master in Middle Eastern Studies, which is a Master of the Catholic University of Milan and in particular of Azeri, which is this postgraduate school in economics and international relations. I will leave the floor immediately to Giorgia and Professor Radaelli that will introduce the audience to the master, and we thank in advance Giacomo Cassano, who is an alumnus of this master with a very particular curriculum. We will discover it later on, but it's his experience and his current position and his past experience, past academic background are very interesting. So I will disappear now and we'll leave the floor to Giorgia and Professor Redaelli.
Thank you, Mara. Good afternoon to everyone. I actually prepared a presentation to guide you through this introduction to the Master in Middle Eastern Studies. And before getting into the Master and knowing more the program and its technical information, I would like to spend a few words talking about Azeri. So the Graduate School of Economics and International Relations of the Catholic University that was founded in 1995 with the aim of creating an international environment and to providing students with analytical tools to understanding the changing global system. The foundation of this school are actually the attention to different values and culture and backgrounds, because we actually believe that these are essential components in the learning process and moreover to the educational level. This is actually an interesting map from where you can see our students coming from different backgrounds and different countries all over the world. And this is actually a point of strength of our school that allow you to share your time and the learning process with students coming from different countries. So the multicultural environment of the classes is a strength point for Azeri. And also the international faculty. We have scholars coming from all over the world, from the Middle East in particular for this master, and not only at academic level, but also professionals working in the Middle East in the area. And Professor Redelli will explain you more while talking about the program of this master. And lastly, I wanted just to mention a few lines about the master programs of Azeri. There are 4 masters, one in advanced global studies, one of economics and international policies, the only one taught in Italian, a master in international cooperation and development, and then our master in Middle Eastern studies. All these 3 programs are completely taught in English. And then Azeri is organizing since 2016 an online summer school on managing international relations. So now I will leave the floor to Professor Redelli, the director of the master, and I will kindly ask him to introduce himself and explain why, coming from his exceptional background and experience in the field, he decided to lead this program and head this master in the Middle Eastern studies.
Yeah. Thank you for your words, and thanks to Giorgia and Mara. I don't know if I have an exceptional, as you say, but what I say, what I think I put inside this master, which is a first level specialized master specifically tailored for graduates or for professionals coming from a plurality, from various different disciplines and backgrounds. What I'm putting inside this master is my personal experience as a fieldwork professor, as I said, I'm still working in the enlarged Middle East. I have been working for the last 25 years in different areas from Pakistan to Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Libya, and all over the Middle East. And I think that it is important for anyone who tries to reach a better knowledge, a better understanding of the Middle Eastern region, which is an extremely complex, fascinating but complex region. I think it is important to have to enlarge our view, to use a sort of reverse binocular that enlarging our perspective of this region. And so the goal of this master to guide, to help students of the master to go across the different areas, the different region of the enlarged Middle East, but also looking at the Middle East from different perspectives and adopting different methodologies. So we have a mix of different disciplines, from the historical perspective to the social one, from the international relations to Islamic law, Islamic economy, to the attention to the plurality of the enlarged Middle East. And we decide to work, try not to use a Eurocentric perspective. Middle East is not just a subject, an object of study, but is a subject of teaching itself. As a matter of fact, as we will show you, and then Giorgia or Giacomo Cassano, our former student, can tell you, we have several renowned, famous professors coming from the Middle East who accepted to teach in our program. I don't know if we can see the next slide, Giorgia, on the different levels. So the program is an intensive program. That's I'm always stressing, despite the fact that might be and might discourage someone. But this is an extremely intensive master, organized in five levels. So we have a first module, generally from January and February, is a preliminary phase where we try to level up the differences in our student, the preparation and the knowledge of our students, and offering intensive courses on history, on the power mechanism of the institutions, as I already told, Islamic law, Islamic economy. We do not offer a course of Arabic, because in few months it's impossible to imagine to understand and to know, to acquire a basic knowledge of Arabic. But we offer two different courses on Arabic terminology. So you will deal with important terms and concepts, and with the Arabic terms behind this concept. So it's a multidisciplinary approach. Then we have a second section, a second level, where we go in deep inside the sub-regional main areas, from Central Asia and Iran up to Maghreb, or Africa, the African continent. And the focus is of this phase, the focus of this level, is offering a better knowledge with an historical and political approach of the different areas, because we're always stressing the plurality of the Middle East, both the historical Middle East and the contemporary one. And then we have the third level, probably the most challenging one, when you have a plurality of different thematic and contemporary issues ranging from economy to the energy resources and energy resources competition, from the human rights to gender studies, from security studies to a plurality of seminars held by professionals, by members of NGOs, for representative of institutions working in the Middle East. For example, we had from the representative of the European Commission's and departments working in the Middle East with institution building programs. We have NGOs, we have experts of the oil market and so on. And thematic contemporary issues, they will offer you a wider spectrum of all the main topics, the main issues at stake in the contemporary period, and within a changing international system. Then we have the fourth level, is to take the project work that you have to complete under the supervision of a professor of the master, and which might be linked to the last level, which is to say an internship, where I will let Giorgia to explain the network of internship and how it works. Either an internship, or if you prefer, you can have, instead of internship, intensive courses of Arabic, Persian, of Turkish, which should be approved by us. That's basically the program of the master, and generally, let us say that the face-to-face lessons and seminars that it takes from an exam from January to July, and then the last part of the year is devoted to the project work, to the internship. The last things I want to say is that we encourage both teachers, as professors, and students to work with simulation, with interactive. We have some children around. It's like being in Gaza because they are shouting like we were in Gaza. We encourage professors and students to work with interactive lessons, and we encourage students to carry on, join a research project, simulation, and research teams. And that was more or less what I have to say about the program.
Okay, so thank you, Professor. I will just briefly mention again the schedule of the master. So the beginning of the master is on mid-January 2022. You will have roughly 6 months of classes and exams, paper submission, group work, and so on. And you will end your classes period at the end of June. And then generally students start their internship or their language course. During the master and throughout the first 6 months, we will work together to find out the best internship for you, and I will work closely with you to select and find out which could be the option. We have students that choose different internships in the past, moving from research to NGOs to media channels and so on. So we have a network of previous internship that we can share with you, but also we ask a proactive approach from students in order to find out all possible options, and have more options on the table. Then you have the discussion of the project work at the end of November, and you will finish the program in December with the graduation day that generally is in the early December. A few other technical informations. These are the tuition fee of this master program. There are scholarships available for international students, and for previous students of Catholic University, you can access to a discount of 500 euros. I also wanted to show you the required documents for the online submission, and the selection process will start as soon as you submit all the documents. So when you're gonna submit all these documents, you will be scheduled for an interview, and during this interview, I will evaluate your English level. And then in a few days, a few working days, you will get the results of the interview and your selection process. So you don't need to wait till the end of October when there is the application deadline, but you can submit your application as soon as you like, and you will be evaluated on the way. And then lastly, before talking with Giacomo and asking him his experience as a former student, I would like to show you a few data that we actually gather from a survey that we conducted this year. We asked our former students to find out one word to explain their experience with MIMES. So some keywords are actually gathered in these slides. And you can see from these slides what was the main idea of our former students. So what they highlighted was, of course, the multidisciplinary approach that Professor Radelli mentioned, the network building, the smaller classes, because the maximum number of students in our classes are 25, to allow more interaction with professor and between the students. And also you have other nice words, for instance, the international environment, the international faculty, and the positive class environment. In this survey, we also asked students how long it took for them to find their first job after graduation. And these are the data that we gathered. So the 67% of them got their first job within 6 months after graduation, and the 38% of them got their first job within 3 months. So you can see the results of the survey in these slides. And also, I wanted to show you which are the main sector of jobs after the graduation. So most of our students choose a research career, whether in academia or in think tank research centers. But also we had students that started to work with the international organizations and NGO, with private sector and industrial companies, but also with international institutions, media journalism, the public administration. So from these slides, you can see the variety of possible jobs that you can get after the master, because what I would like to highlight here is that we are providing you knowledge and analytical skills that you can use in different fields of work. So there is no one specific job that you can do after this master, but you will acquire specific tools that you might be able to use in different fields. And then this is the last data I want to show you from this survey. We asked our students whether they would suggest the master program, and 96% of them replied yes. So we had positive feedback from our former students, and they might like to suggest you to join this master, to apply for this master. Last but not least, these are some useful contacts if you like to be in touch with us and follow us on our social media. And if you need more specific information, you can send us an email, whether to me or to the info@azeri. And now I would like to give the floor to Giacomo Cassano, a former student of the master program. And I will kindly ask him to introduce himself and talk about his particular background before joining the Master in Middle Eastern Studies. So, Giacomo, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, first of all, I hope you're going to forgive me if I'm going to, use this kind of strange British-like accent, but that's how you're supposed to do if you want to survive, if you live in England for a while. But anyway, well, yes. Actually, there are many things I could say, you know, about the masters, but I think that probably the best way to introduce myself is, first of all, say what I'm doing right now. So at the moment, I'm a student. I'm still a student, or at least I'm considered as one, and I'm studying at the University of Essex. I am actually completing my Master of Science in Conflict Resolution under the Department of Government. So I'm still, you know, studying peace and conflicts and international relations in another country. So it's quite interesting. And well, going back to my experience with MIMES, I actually want to mention a couple of words. The first one was mentioned by Professor Redaelli and was intensive, because yeah, in hindsight, I could actually say that yes, it was definitely an intensive experience. So just to warn you that that's going to be what you're going to face. So yes, intensive. It's definitely the first one. But the second one is probably more, let's say, tranquil, and it's opportunity, which was actually what I experienced, you know, studying at MIMES, because I can definitely say, thinking in hindsight, that was for me a major opportunity to get access to the field of international relations and political science in my case. I started studying the Middle East, and now I'm trying to study conflicts and peace issues on an even broader level. So I don't know if that's wise, but you know, that's what I'm trying to do. So yes, these are the two words I'm actually you know, recalling. My experience, yes, it's a bit peculiar, I would say, because I started there as a let's say scientific guy. I studied physics. I got my bachelor's in Milan some while ago. But it was actually in that very occasion that I actually started, and I took up my interest in international relations, and in particular, actually, the very specific topic of disarmament and conflicts and peace studies. Because on that occasion, I met one professor at the department of physics, and he was actually dealing with nuclear disarmament. So there was a connection, let's say, between physics and politics in that case. But from then on, I actually thought that would have been my main interest, and I actually moved more towards the political side of the problem. So I can say that was my beginning. I started to get interested into politics, starting from one of the major problems we had in the past, which was the nuclear weapon. It was a bit of a strange thing, but that was my beginning. After that, I actually had my very, well, I would say, beautiful experience at MIMES, and many things actually have already been mentioned. The multicultural environment, the very well, let's say, keen experience of professors, which is probably one of the most important elements I actually experienced there. So getting in touch with professors with very broad and profound backgrounds and interests in the field is probably the most important things, or among the very important ones. And secondly, the possibility to create connections. I think that, you know, in this field, the possibility to create connections with other people is probably, I would say, a central element. If you can create, let's say, good connections with people, they will always be very useful in the future. Even if you're interested in working somewhere, or just having someone somewhere in the world where you can meet and have a chat, is something quite important. And I think that MIMES has also this important thing, among the long list of very good elements you can find there. So yes, that was basically my passage and my what I could find on a broad, let's say, backdrop at MIMES. We're coming now to probably one of the interesting part, I think, because I actually recall my experience as a student there. I think that one of the elements that students tend to look at is the job market, and Georgia was mentioning it very a while ago. But I can actually my experience is and my interest is to reassure the students that such an experience. I would say that my experience at MIMES was definitely, I could say, a stepping stone to as I said before, to get access to this type of career, because I'm not interested in doing a PhD actually in the field. But before this, I actually got my first job. I think it was something like 3 months after my graduation at MIMES. So I just wanted to reassure the students that if you're interested in having a job, and this could be a very intelligent, I would say, and wise choice for a master's. So yes, and well, what to add? I don't know. I think that yes, I've mentioned all the important things I've got in mind. So I don't know if someone has some questions. I'm available for that. But yeah, I think I'll stop here for the moment.
Thank you, Giacomo. Thank you, Giacomo, for your presentation.
Can I ask you a question, Giacomo? You mentioned that you have a totally different background from what can be expected from a student of political science and international relations and Middle Eastern studies. How was, and you mentioned that the master was very intensive. Was it very difficult to get into, coming from physics to get into these new themes and new topics? Was it, or how difficult was it?
Yeah, thank you for the question, actually, because I probably skipped it a while ago. Well, yes, it was difficult. I'm not saying it was not difficult, because it wouldn't be the truth. It wouldn't be the truth. But I could say that if one is interested in the topic, the energy is probably not the main problem. I think that if one is interested in studying something and getting access, as in my case, to a very different discipline, I would say, which is, broadly speaking, politics. I think that you can find the energy to get access to it. My advantage was probably that I already had in mind some problems related to international relations, so I was not completely, let's say, unprepared. So I was actually ready and willing to study something new. That was my choice. I was looking for something like that master. So it was difficult, but at the same time it was quite rewarding, because when you complete such a path and you look back and you see that you learn many new things, I could say that was quite an enriching experience. Also, I just want to mention also one last thing, which is that if you let's say that's my perspective. I'm not saying that that's the truth, but it's my perspective. I think that when you're looking at such a broad topic like international relations, you can typically find many different topics coming together, and many different people and backgrounds. So I think that trying to add some scientific background like mine is not something bad, and that's actually what I'm trying to do now, my master's in the UK. So yes, it was difficult, but at the end of the day, it was doable. I could do it. I survived. So I think that the main thing was that I learned many new things. So yes.
Thank you very much, Giacomo, for sharing your experience with us and with the people that are watching us. So I would like to ask if there are questions from the audience.
Hi. Okay.
Sophia, welcome.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity, even if it's not in presence, just to share. And I mean, I was kind of preoccupied because of my background. I mean, I studied international cooperation, and right now I'm studying global politics and society, but I really do not have a strong background in Middle Eastern studies. So thank you, Giacomo, because you just relieved me a little bit about your background, which is completely far from this topic. And I really do not have any question. I was just switching on my camera to say thank you. And if I will have some question, I'll write and text an email. Thank you.
Thank you, if I may say, Sophia. And don't worry, we had students coming from all the different disciplines. We had students coming from all the continents, and we had students coming from the Middle East, and they believed at the beginning that they already knew everything, because that's my region, you know, what they say. And at the end, they said, I understood. We knew nothing about the Middle East before this master. And sometimes, of course, if we had students coming from very specific, from Arabic languages or from studies of the Middle East, of course, they already have a knowledge. But that the first module is dedicated just to level up all the differences. And my impression is, and this is not very surprising, because I'm seeing also in the Italian laurea magistrale, in the Italian Master of Science, I'm coordinating here in the Cattolica University. When you have students coming from, like Giacomo has been a wonderful student, coming from a very different perspective. They put all their nerve and sweat and blood to this, and they get, generally at the end, they get better marks. So it's not so unusual, at least from our experience.
Yeah, I would like to add just one short point, that sometimes people that come from different backgrounds, they have a new mindset. So they might raise questions that other students coming from political sciences and who already have some knowledge, like preliminary knowledge of the Middle East, may not even think about. So it's actually important for us to have different disciplines together combined in the class, because sometimes students with different backgrounds highlight points that are sometimes blurred for others. So thank you, Sophia, for mentioning this, and definitely don't be concerned about this point.
I knew Simona had a question, so she had some preoccupation regarding the linguistic level. Would you like to ask it live and direct, or? Yes. Simona, we cannot hear you. You should switch on your microphone.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Hi, I'm Simona. I would like to have more information about the entry requirement.
Okay, so there are a few documents that you have to submit online, such as the copy of your bachelor or master degree, a letter of reference, your CV, and a motivational letter. I will evaluate all these documents together with our staff, and then I will call you for an interview. And during this interview, I will evaluate your level of English, because there is no certification required. So we don't ask students to have a TOEFL or an IELTS, but we evaluate the English level during the selection process. And then after the interview, together with your documents, you will know the result of your application. So this is the selection process, how it works.
Thank you so much.
So if you don't have a certification of English, absolutely there is no problem about that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
May I ask you a more practical question about the requirements, because I will probably graduate in December. So may I just send, I don't know, maybe all the marks and the exam which I'm going to attend, and then attend for the
yeah, exactly. We accept application if a student will get their degree within the academic year. So even if you graduate in March or February, we accept the application. You will just upload an informal document, say that you will get your degree by November or December, and we can already evaluate your application.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, as far as Sophia, as far as the since you don't have final transcripts or grades, you can simply upload and submit the autocertificazione, so self-certification of grades issued by your university or filled by yourself. And because of course we need to understand which is your background, which exams you have done, which is your level, of course, but you don't need to be graduated before the master starts. Okay. Just I would like to add a question for Georgia, because this is something very unusual for a master sometimes. In the practical part, the very last level, so level 5, you offer the possibility to do either an internship or a language course. Can you explain how it works and why, maybe? Because this is very off. It's not usual for a master.
Yeah, this is students may not have clear their mind of what they would like to do. So they may try an internship in a different fields, or they may like to study a language of the Middle East, for instance, Arabic, Persian, or Turkish. Some of our students, for instance, in the past, they would go for an academic career. So they thought it was important to study the language. So they decided to apply for a language course. They went in the Middle East, whether in North Africa, in Iran, in Lebanon, to study the language. Because for them it was important to have the knowledge of the language. For others, for example, if they like to work in private sectors and it's not extremely important for them to know the language, they may like to choose an internship. So I will try to guide the students in this choice, finding out which is the best option for each of them. And you can, if you choose a language course, you can actually study it everywhere. You can remain in Italy, you can go into the Middle East, you can apply for a course in Europe or anywhere.
Yeah, and sometimes students decide to select both of them. So they take either the internship and language courses. It happened several times.
Okay, I'd say that thanks to the guests that are here for the questions, for their contributions. We hope that we answered your questions, but anyway, in case you have more doubts or new request, new necessity, you can drop a line to our contacts, which you can find on the website of azeri.unicat.it, where you can find all the pages of the master and all the contacts. We are totally available. We are available for one-to-one meetings, because of course the decision to go for a master is important, and we would like to support you in your decision-making process. If you don't have additional questions, I would say that we close here the meeting. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Professor Radaelli, and thanks most of all to Giacomo, because he gave us a totally original insight into his into the master and in his experience. We hope to see you in class in January next year.
Inshallah.
Thanks a lot. Inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Sophia.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.